Before we begin, let me ask you to pause for a moment and observe something subtle but revealing. The people who seem the most mentally sharp, reflective, and insightful are often the same ones with habits that appear odd. They prefer solitude over noise, routines that feel unnecessary to others, behaviors that don't quite fit the social script. This video starts exactly there, in that uncomfortable gap between intelligence and strangeness, where curiosity turns into judgment and difference is mistaken for dysfunction. Throughout this video, we'll break down why highly intelligent individuals often develop habits that seem unusual, counterintuitive, or even antisocial. We'll explore how certain behaviors are not random quirks, but psychological adaptations, quiet responses to an overstimulated world, social expectations, and internal complexity. Instead of pathologizing these habits, we'll decode them, how they form, what they protect, and what they reveal about the structure of the mind. What looks strange on the surface often hides a rational strategy underneath. Drawing from the psychological framework associated with Carl Jung, this video will help you recognize these patterns in others and possibly in yourself. By the end, you won't just understand these behaviors. You'll see how intelligence reshapes habits, relationships, and social interaction in ways most people never stop to question. And once you notice it, you won't be able to unsee it. Before we move forward, a quick moment of alignment. If you enjoy content that explores human behavior with clarity, depth, and psychological precision, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this analysis reach people who are quietly searching for understanding rather than surface-level answers. And stay with me until the end, because the final insight connects everything we discuss and reframes these strange habits in a way that most explanations never do. When silence becomes a habit, not a weakness. Highly intelligent people often develop a strange relationship with silence. It's not shyness, and it's definitely not social fear. It's selection. They speak less because their mind is rarely quiet. While most people use conversation to fill space, they use silence to organize thought. That's why they might pause before answering, disappear for days, or seem distant in group settings. This habit looks awkward from the outside, almost antisocial. But internally, it's a way to protect mental energy. When the mind runs deep, noise isn't neutral, it's invasive. And once silence becomes a refuge, it quietly starts shaping other behaviors too. There's a moment most people miss. It happens in meetings, at family dinners, in group chats that never seem to sleep. Someone intelligent goes quiet. Not awkward quiet, not lost, just still. And instantly, the room fills the silence for them. Jokes, assumptions, labels. They're shy. They're distant. They're weird. But here's the part few notice, that silence isn't empty. It's crowded. For many intelligent people, silence becomes a habit because their mind doesn't shut off when others stop talking. It speeds up. While the conversation drifts on the surface, weather, gossip, repetition, their thoughts are stacking, connecting, replaying. Speaking less isn't a lack of ideas. It's the opposite. When you realize every word has weight, you stop throwing them around casually. You start choosing them. And choice, to the outside world, looks like withdrawal. Carl Jung once pointed out that people with a rich inner life often feel overstimulated by constant external input. Noise isn't just sound, it's expectation, it's performance, it's pressure to react instead of reflect. So silence becomes a shield, not to push people away, but to stay intact. Think about it. When everything around you demands attention, silence is the only place where thought can finish a sentence. This is why intelligent people often pause before responding, or take longer to reply to messages, or disappear socially without explanation. It's not indifference, it's processing. They replay conversations hours later, noticing what others missed in real time. Tone, subtext, contradictions. That habit, stepping back instead of jumping in, slowly rewires how they interact with the world. They don't chase noise, they filter it. But here's the twist. The more silence becomes a refuge, the more visible it becomes to others. And what's visible gets judged. Silence gets mistaken for superiority. Distance gets confused with rejection. That misunderstanding creates friction, and that friction pushes them even deeper inward. Over time, silence stops being just a preference and turns into a pattern that quietly reshapes routines, relationships, and how safe the external world feels to engage with at all. And once silence starts doing that, it doesn't stay isolated. It begins to influence how structure, habits, and emotional boundaries form, almost like the mind is building an internal order to compensate for a world that feels loud, fast, and slightly out of sync. Unusual routines and the need for inner order. You'll often notice intelligent people sticking to routines that feel unnecessary or even rigid, eating the same meals, walking the same paths, working at odd hours. To others it looks obsessive, but these habits aren't about control. They're about reducing friction. When your mind is constantly processing abstract ideas, emotions, and possibilities, the external world needs to be predictable. These routines act like psychological anchors. They free mental space, and over time, this need for inner order spills into how they structure relationships, time, and even distance from others. If you spend enough time around highly intelligent people, you start noticing something curious. Their lives run on patterns that feel oddly specific. Same cafe, same seat, same playlist on repeat, same late-night work window when the rest of the world is winding down. From the outside, it can look rigid, even boring. But inside, it's doing heavy psychological lifting. These routines aren't about control for the sake of control. They're about reducing noise. When your mind is constantly juggling ideas, emotions, questions, and possibilities, even small decisions start to feel expensive. What to eat, where to sit, when to start. So the brain finds shortcuts. Fixed habits become a way to save mental energy for what actually matters. It's not laziness, it's strategy. Jung hinted at this when he talked about the need for inner order. When the inner world is complex, the outer world has to be simple. Think of it like a cluttered desk versus a clear one. The mess isn't just visual, it drains focus. So intelligent people unconsciously create predictable environments. Same route to work, same morning ritual, same way of organizing files, notes, or thoughts. Familiarity becomes calming because it lowers friction. But here's where it gets misunderstood. People see these habits and assume obsession, inflexibility, or fear of change. In reality, many of these people adapt extremely well, just not to chaos. They can handle uncertainty in ideas, in abstract thinking, in emotional depth. What they avoid is unnecessary randomness. When the external world becomes stable, the internal one is free to explore. You can see this play out in subtle ways. Someone who dresses almost the same every day, but has deeply layered opinions. Someone who eats repetitive meals, yet thinks in unconventional directions. The routine is the anchor. The thinking is the sail. Without the anchor, everything drifts. Over time, these habits start shaping more than daily life. They influence how time is valued, how energy is spent, and even how close someone allows others to get. Because once you learn that structure protects your clarity, you become selective about anything or anyone that disrupts it. And that selectiveness quietly feeds into emotional boundaries, distance, and the way relationships are formed or avoided altogether. Emotional distance as a form of self-preservation. Another strange habit shows up in relationships. Intelligent people often keep emotional distance, not because they don't care, but because they care too deeply. They analyze, reflect, and anticipate consequences. Small interactions carry weight. Casual bonds can feel draining, so they pull back, observe, and take longer to trust. This can be misread as coldness. In reality, it's a protective mechanism. When emotional depth meets constant self-reflection, connection becomes intense, and intensity needs boundaries. That boundary, once formed, starts influencing how they see society itself. There's a moment in relationships with intelligent people that quietly changes everything. It's when you realize they don't get emotionally close fast, not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. Every interaction leaves a mark. Every word echoes longer than it should, so instead of rushing in, they slow down, way down. From the outside, this looks like emotional distance, delayed replies, guarded reactions, a calm that feels almost unreadable. People mistake this for coldness or lack of interest. But inside, there's a constant evaluation happening. Not judgment, awareness. They notice patterns in behavior, inconsistencies between words and actions, tiny shifts in tone most people overlook. And once you notice everything, you can't unnotice it. Jung wrote that people who reflect deeply don't just experience emotions, they interpret them. That's where the distance comes from. When someone feels something strongly, they don't immediately express it. They examine it. Is this attraction real or situational? Is this connection stable or just familiar? Is this person safe long-term or only comfortable short-term? Those questions create space, and that space becomes a habit. You'll often see this play out in real life. Someone who cares deeply but rarely says it out loud. Someone who pulls back right when things start to feel intense. Not because they're afraid of connection, but because they know intensity without structure can turn destructive. Emotional distance becomes a boundary, a way to stay grounded without shutting down completely. There's also a quiet exhaustion behind it. Deep conversations, emotional labor, constant availability. For people who process everything internally, that kind of closeness takes energy, so they ration it. They choose fewer connections, but heavier ones. And when those connections don't feel aligned, the distance grows naturally, not as punishment, but as self-preservation. Over time, this habit shapes how they see society. Casual relationships start feeling hollow, performative intimacy feels fake, and the world begins to look like a place where everyone is talking, but few are actually connecting. That realization doesn't just affect relationships, it subtly pushes them to observe people from the outside, to study behavior instead of participating fully in it. And once that observer mindset settles in, it quietly changes how the social world itself is experienced. Feeling out of sync with the social world. At some point, many intelligent people develop the habit of feeling slightly out of place everywhere. Not superior, not inferior, just misaligned. Social norms feel scripted, small talk feels empty, group behavior feels predictable. This creates a quiet tension, wanting connection, but rejecting the surface-level version of it. So they adapt, they withdraw, observe patterns, and build an inner world that feels more real than the external one. And that internal world, once it becomes more vivid than social reality, starts feeding back into every habit we've mentioned: silence, routine, distance, pulling the loop even tighter. At a certain point, something shifts. Intelligent people stop feeling like they belong anywhere, but they also don't feel completely outside either. It's a strange in-between. They're present, but slightly misaligned, like a radio tuned just a little off the main frequency. Conversations keep playing, laughter keeps happening, life moves on, yet something always feels off. This usually shows up in social settings first. Small talk feels rehearsed. Group opinions start sounding predictable before they're even spoken. Trends rise and fall on schedule. And instead of excitement, there's a quiet sense of déjà vu. Not boredom exactly, more like recognition. the pattern reveals itself too quickly. Jung believed that once a person becomes highly aware of collective behavior, it's hard to fully merge with it again. You can participate, but you're also watching yourself participate. So these people adapt, not by rejecting society outright, but by stepping half a pace back. They listen more than they speak. They read rooms instead of trying to dominate them. They notice how identities are performed, online and offline, and how often people confuse visibility with value. That awareness creates distance, but also clarity. You stop chasing approval when you see how mechanical it can be. This is why many intelligent people build rich inner worlds. Ideas, projects, reflections, creative escapes. Not because they hate people, but because the internal world feels more honest, more flexible, more alive. Studies on highly reflective personalities show they're more likely to find meaning in solitary activities than in constant social stimulation. Solitude isn't emptiness, it's alignment. But here's the quiet tension. Humans still need connection. Even the most self-sufficient mind does. So there's this constant balancing act, wanting depth, but avoiding the surface, craving authenticity, but living in a world optimized for performance. That friction explains why intelligent people often move through life feeling slightly out of step, not broken, not superior, just tuned differently. And once you start living from that perspective, everything circles back. The silence makes sense. The routines feel necessary. The emotional distance feels protective. What once looked like strange habits begins to look like adaptation, not to escape the world, but to survive it without losing yourself. So when you put all of this together, the picture gets clearer. Those strange habits were never random. The silence, the routines, the emotional distance, the feeling of being slightly out of sync. They're not flaws, they're responses. Intelligent minds adapt differently because they experience the world differently. What overwhelms most people barely registers for them, and what seems small to others can echo for days inside their head. Carl Jung once warned that the greatest danger for reflective individuals is losing themselves in the expectations of the collective. That's why these habits form in the first place. They're quiet ways of staying grounded in a world that rewards noise, speed, and conformity, not acts of rebellion, acts of preservation. The real problem starts when these patterns are misunderstood by society, or worse, by the person living them. When silence turns into self-doubt, when distance turns into isolation, when structure turns into rigidity, intelligence isn't meant to be hidden or punished. It's meant to be integrated, balanced with awareness, connection, and intention. If any of this felt uncomfortably familiar, take that as a signal, not a diagnosis. Those habits aren't asking to be erased. They're asking to be understood. Because the moment you stop seeing them as strange and start seeing them as intelligent adaptations, something shifts. You stop fighting yourself, and that's usually where real clarity begins. If this video helped you see human behavior from a clearer angle, take a second to like and subscribe. It tells the algorithm that this kind of deeper, more rational content deserves to reach the right people. And I want to hear from you. Comment below what topic you'd like me to break down next. You can also check the card on the screen to continue watching related videos in this playlist and keep exploring how the human mind really works.